Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the McShin Foundation's award-winning recovery podcast, Get in the Herd. My name is Nathan Mitchell. I'll be your host today. I'm a person in recovery. Today, our guest, our very, very special guest, is a woman who probably shouldn't need an introduction because I feel like I know her so well, but everybody should know her this well. But Heather Ogden, who's coming to us from South Jersey, and I have a lot of love for the accent. You'll notice it when you hear her, because yeah, I know, right? You're laughing, but that's my family right there. You've got my family's accent. I'm from South Jersey originally. So Heather Ogden, you're with well, welcome to the show. Tell us, where are you coming from today? What organization do you work for? Who are you, and why are you here today?
Thank you, Nathan. I ask why I'm anywhere at any given moment. So, but the answer today is because you asked me, and I was really excited to have the chance. Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Ogden. I am a woman in long-term recovery from both substance use disorder and mental health issues. Going on 11-ish years now. So I am streaming in from South Jersey, right across the bridge from Philadelphia. So, we have Philadelphia, New Jersey, and we have New York, New Jersey. I'm in the Philadelphia, New Jersey. That's where Nathan's family is from, too. So I've spent a lot of time working on kicking part of this accent. So I'm not nearly as bad as most of the people in this area that I live in. I'm just going to tell you. But we do sound a lot like Tina Fey when she's doing that thing on Saturday Night Live. So I am my full-time gig is I'm the Advocacy Coordinator for the National Center for Advocacy and Recovery for Behavioral Health. I am saying that slowly because I'm still getting used to saying it. We just switched our name as of January 1st this year. Before January 1st, for 30 years, we were NCAD New Jersey, which still is, in partnership with National NCAD, which was started by Marty Mann, who was one of the original 100 in AA with Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob. So in the spirit of Marty Mann, we do advocacy both on an individual and a systems level. What I do is I run advocacy teams across the state. I took this job over for Aaron Kacharski, who still is my mentor in the field. He taught me how to be an advocate. He taught me how to make change that lasts. So, we all fight to change the things that we know aren't working. And in order to do that, we need more and good policy behind it. So he taught me how to do that. And now I have the honor of teaching others how to do that as well. Actually, our model of the grassroots advocacy teams is now what the Recovery Advocacy Project is building their framework off of. Same model, teams across the state. So it works really well, and I'm pretty lucky. I get paid to do what I love. I always hoped I would get a paycheck for telling people what is wrong with the world, and here I am. So. I'm a blessed lady today.
I love that you found your calling, and I didn't realize that you had the connection, that Aaron Kacharski connection. I mean, I know you know him, but I didn't realize he'd been in that position. I talk to Aaron at least once a day, or at least an email back and forth once a day. So
right,
he's pretty incredible. Well, welcome to the show, and I love we met in person. At what would have been Mobilize 2020 last year, but we met in person in Las Vegas because we'd already bought our tickets to go to Las Vegas when the conference went virtual. So we said, to heck with it. We're just going to go and do it and be there. And, I had a blast. I had a very comfortable room. I just sat in my room and ate. Well, they didn't have room service. I didn't have room. They didn't do room service. That was very frustrating. So I had to get up and put pants on and go downstairs.
It was a super first world problem we had.
Totally.
Like, I have this Vegas ticket. I have to go.
Which bed am I going to sleep in?
Right. I went out to Mobilize last year. The original plan was to meet with the rest of the people that were launching Mobilize. So that was my plan. And then I got out there and things had changed rapidly enough between when I got on my plane and when I got off my plane that we couldn't all meet up. So there were a number of people that were helping behind the scenes from several different hotel locations in Las Vegas. But if you ever think that you can't pull things together at the absolute last minute, like that was amazing to me. Nobody had any idea that things changed at the last minute. And Nathan and I figured it out because we both had the same poster in the background of one of the
That is right. I forgot about that.
things. He was like, I have that same Elvis poster in my room. So it's pretty cool because there wasn't a whole lot open, but we were going to go find places that were. And I got to introduce you to the insanity of people watching on the Las Vegas Strip. That's always fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that, I'm not a crowd person.
I'm not either.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because I'm gregarious, and many people might say that I'm a extrovert, but I have no problem speaking to a crowd. I still get nervous and stuff, but being in a crowd, going to a party with people, I'm like, it might be because I'm 5'2.5", but.
I am not 5'4.5", and I am exactly the same way. I think actually there's a lot of us in recovery that are like that, where our nature is actually more comfortable with smaller circles as introverts. Like, I love spending time by myself. I think I'm hysterical. So, I have conversations with myself all the time. But when I spend a lot of time, for instance, I can't wait to get to Vegas this year, but I know I'm going to need like a week to recover from it, from being with so many people. And I'm not the only one. Like, we love, like, it's so exciting. We're all going to see each other again. We're going to do all these awesome things. And we're all going to be completely and utterly drained by the time we get on our flights back.
Yeah. Did you presented last year?
I did. Yeah. Last year I did. I did a brief overview of the history of recovery advocacy. I'm a bit of a history dork that way. I love to research things, and but also, we're living in an age where we absolutely do not learn anything from our history. Like, we don't know it, so we just repeat things all the time. And when I started researching our movement, I was like, oh my God, we're the same way. Like, we get to a certain point and then something catastrophic happens that puts us back. It puts us back a couple years. So I was shocked to learn that Marty Mann did this gigantic public thing in 1976. 1976, she got all these celebrities who were in recovery to talk about their recovery publicly. And why didn't anybody know about that? Because that was that was right after the Vietnam issues, and it was as we were ramping up the war on drugs that Nixon had declared. So there's always this seesaw. And I thought that because there was a group that we're all real excited about advocacy. Like, we're excited to get things done and do things differently. It was time that people got a crash course in history. So, I didn't notice anybody falling asleep, so I guess it went okay.
Well, are you doing another session this year?
I'm not doing a solo session this year. I am helping with some coaching.
You're doing the peer. I'm doing the same one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of us that are doing that. I'll help with setup if they need me to, because I'm actually going out a little bit earlier. But no, this year it's going to be different. It's on a different level this year. Last year it was a few handful of people in various hotel rooms launching a really awesome online version this year is going to be highly polished and professionals, not me going, what the heck am I doing? So,
when I reflect on Mobilize 2020, right? And so for anybody listening, who doesn't know what we're talking about, Mobilize Recovery is a grassroots coming together of recovery advocates all across the country, and probably a few from overseas as well, coming together in Las Vegas towards the end of September. And this is now the third Mobilize, is that correct?
Yes.
Right, and so yeah, and I wasn't at the first one. McShin was at the first one, but I was not. The second one was the one that became virtual, but we're all going to meet together, advocates from all different spheres of the country and some from across the world, who are doing different things in different spaces, but all with the same underlying mission to reduce the effects of substance use disorder, here in the nation and the world, and of course, reduce stigma, increase access to recovery, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a great, for me with this platform here as Get in the Herd, one of the things I've done with Get in the Herd is try to meet all the different recovery advocacy projects across the country and see, hey, what's going on over here, and listen to see what we can bring here to Virginia, because we're all doing different stuff. And so this is the time to meet and greet and hug each other and to love each other, and I'm excited. And so what I think about last year, as it was all virtual, this was a conference that, and I tell people this, and I'm a history buff too. So when you can get Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich in the same conference on the same day, I mean, you're talking about crossing all sorts of party lines, all sorts of and for those who don't realize, Newt Gingrich was Speaker of the House when President Bill Clinton was impeached. So, you have these two very, very polarizing figures talking about the same subject on the same page, trying to get together with some solutions. And now we look at, you mentioned the war on drugs, and you mentioned the 76, right? And so the first thing that I think of is that, when people were coming back from Vietnam, the mental health, and, I remember walking to Washington in the mid 80s, as a kid, and seeing, you can still see it there. You can see Vietnam vets on the street, living on the street now, still, probably in all cities, but I remember in DC and in Philly, because we went into Philly too, right? And seeing the vets on the street, seeing the mental illness, and seeing how it was being played out, how substance use disorder and mental health illness was being played out right there on the streets in front of us, and nothing effectively being done other than to criminalize. And now, as we're coming out of, how many decades of war that we've been in, and like my brother's a person in recovery who, has PTSD from, having served in Iraq back in 2003-04. And now as we're getting past this pandemic where the overdose rates went up 30% in the country, 41% here in Virginia. So the overdose death rates, 2,308 people in Virginia died last year as a result of an overdose. And as we're looking at those numbers, I'm hoping that we have a historical marker in the past to say, what? The continued criminalization of addiction is not working, and so we can put public policy initiatives into place that actually get people the help they need. So I love what you're doing. I love that what we're doing all together, and I love that we can all get together and talk about these things. But when it comes right down to it, it's like, what do we need? What's going on? What is it? What more can we do? Yeah, tell me, Heather, what more can we do?
There's so much more we can do. The problem is, I think that, and I agree, one of the best pieces of Mobilize Recovery and the Recovery Advocacy Project, which came out of the first Mobilize Recovery, is this connection that we now have with people in all across the country. So it's great on an individual level, because now when I have somebody that, reaches out to me on Facebook and says, oh, I have I have a loved one, but they're in Kentucky and I don't know what to do, I can put it out and say, hey, who do I know in Kentucky that does recovery. Can you help this person? And it's within an hour, we have connected people to services. So it's fantastic on an individual level because we're connecting people with the resources that they need. But it's also great because we're finally, and I give a lot of credit to, we complain about the negative parts of social media and everything being online and digital, but we also have to give credit where credit is due. And I really think that what makes this particular piece of our movement different, because like, we're not saying anything that the people decades before us haven't been saying. Like, we're saying the same thing. It's just that now we all know that all of us are saying the same thing. And I know from my years in advocacy and policy, the only thing that gets policy changed is sheer numbers of people demanding it. So the more of us that are connected and, agreeing to put aside whatever differences we have in order to fight together, because we all have the same end goals, which is to make a better system and to save more people, introduce people to a better life in wellness. So I think that that's going to be what makes or breaks us. Like, are we going to agree to, all jump on board? And if so, it's because we all know that we're saying the same thing. And the people that are in the policymaking positions can no longer say, oh, well, I don't hear anybody saying that, because there's going to be a lot of us saying the same thing. That's the only way we can get things really pushed. But I think it's important that people know that, as much as things have changed, a lot of things have stayed the same. We're not the first generation of advocates pushing for a recovery-oriented system of care. That's been around for a long time. We just can't launch it because nobody wants to rock that boat. And Nathan, because you grew up here, like, every state has their politics, but New Jersey has their politics and all of your politics too. Like, this is a real special red tape bureaucracy state. And getting things changed can be incredibly difficult and incredibly frustrating. But it's always amazing to me to see how effective a personal story can be with an elected official. It's just, sometimes we need help getting that person in front of the elected official. Sometimes that's the battle that we're fighting.
Yeah.
But those are the things that make a lot more impact. I mean, I can get up and talk statistics and money and all those kinds of things. But, when a person gets up and talks about, this is how this affected my life, that's often what will make a difference. Which is why I'm so excited that, like, we're spending all of this time working on how to tell your story.
Yeah.
Because it's the most effective way to make change, especially on a local level. Like, we're just talking about, nationwide and statewide here, but like, you really want something to change in your backyard, go to your city council and tell them your story.
Well, and I'll tell you, there was our Congresswoman, Abigail Spanberger here in Virginia 7th, and she's awesome for many reasons, but she's awesome because she just put in a bill that would make that 10% set aside a permanent thing. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's moving forward on things to do. But when she was campaigning for delegates, I don't know what it is in New Jersey. I know you guys have a gubernatorial election this year. We do too in Virginia. Mm-hmm. Is your General Assembly up? Your state legislators up too? Yeah. So is ours. Our delegates are. And so 2019, when all the delegates were up again in the Senate, I was everywhere. As part of McShin, but I was everywhere. And like, I went to an event an hour away from here where she was still Congresswoman, she was still represented, and she saw me there and she said, why do I see you everywhere? And I just looked at her and all I said was, I can't vote. Because I was a felon. Well, I am a felon because of my substance use disorder. And I said, I can't vote. I need to make sure that my voice is heard. I'm a felon as a result of my addiction. And so the fun thing about that, of course, is that I have gotten off probation. I've gotten my rights restored. And I saw her at an event about a month ago or so. And it was, 15 or 16 people, and it was all small business owners and small businesses. And, we went we're a small nonprofit, and, talking about what we can do. And I, when I raised my hand, I said, oh, by the way, I just want to let you know I was able to vote last year for the first time in a while. And she stopped and she remembered, she knew that about me.
Right.
And she knows me, by face, but she knows the story. And she actually stopped and explained that to everybody in the room. Like that was the story. And I didn't really need that or want that response, but it was just more of that was an impact, and as a person who didn't realize that was even a thing, because I've got to vote. I'm a human. I'm over 18. I've got to vote, and I always did vote. To have that right taken away from you was like, wait, you're going to do what? So now, that led me to say, okay, well, that's not right. And then there were, certain things that I have seen in my recovery. Well, wait a second. They didn't call the police because they thought they were going to get arrested while the guy was dying. They put him out on So wait a second, with American laws? So these are all the little things, right? Like these stories are so profound, but not only for the policymakers, but for people like me who came in here thinking, not realizing anything. I came into recovery without a problem. It wasn't my problem. It was all y'all's problem, right? And it took me a little while to figure out that I was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it didn't take me that long. It was pretty clear with bracelets, the steel bracelets in the jail cell. But you get the point is that like everybody's story coming to me and realizing that not only am I not alone, but my story has weight too.
Right.
And so when we can learn how to effectively tell that in a way that we can get to the right people, and I love this, when we become the policymakers, we are become the board members and the board of superintendents members or the city managers or whatever. We've got a guy running for delegate in the district next to us, who's a McShin alumni. So that's you're right. The power of stories, the power of getting the message out and saying, you know what, I did some things. I was controlled by a substance. And now I'm a person in recovery from a substance use disorder. And today for me, that means I vote. I go out there and I try to make things better for the next person and make sure that we have access to effective recovery support services. And that's the beautiful thing about what we all do. And I love, there's a lot of infighting and of course outfighting and all this stuff. But when it comes right down to it, like we all get together and I meet people and I'm like in this world and I'm like, just trying to help and save lives, and I love that, right down to it. So, fun to see you here. Talking about saving lives, let's talk about your Facebook post over the last.
Oh, please, do we have to?
There's the Jersey accent. I knew it would come out if we talked about that. You mentioned before we went live that you have a 12-year-old at home.
I have more than a 12-year-old. I actually have a 12-year-old, a 17-year-old, and my oldest will be 20 on Monday. Ooh. So I have 3 boys at home.
How do you have a 20-year-old? Because I know that you and our birthday is 2 days apart. I'm June 15th, you're June 17th. And I just turned 28 again.
Yeah.
And I know that you were born in the same year, right?
Right. So, I found them,
Okay. How are you all coping with the pandemic, with school, with what's going on for you all?
So we are leveling out now, but man, it was rough there for a while. I consider myself incredibly fortunate that if this had happened, this pandemic and shutdown and all the stuff that went with it, if it had happened in any other year of my life, we would have been in a lot of trouble. Like I would not have been able to do it financially. Having all of us streaming from the same house, like for school and work. And I mean, like even something as small as like my internet would not have been able to handle it because I couldn't afford to have the proper internet. Any other year that this had happened, it would have been disastrous. So I tried to keep that in mind when things got a little tougher. And I mean, we did remarkably well for being locked in a house together for a really long time. I made sure that we all had very much our own spaces. We still came together for dinner every night, but other than that, like I tried to give them some space. They tried to give me some space. It was tough on the kids to not have, interaction the way, especially for my youngest, my younger guy that just turned 12. He's my social child. Like, he does better when he's out and about. My other two are a little more introverted, and they're also very much, they get a lot of their social interaction online anyway. They do a lot of gaming, they do online, all kinds of stuff. So if they were okay, like they at least had that outlet. But now that I don't even know where we are. I can't say we're like on the way out, because now it's a big question mark again. I think that we're at the point where we're going to have to learn to live with this for quite some time. So we have to live enough. So it's a matter of like, we're about to hit all of the prep for back to school. I've got one in college, one in high school, one in middle school. So like the 2 weeks leading up to school starting is always chaos, making sure we have everything ready. So there's still that, but now we've got this added layer of like, okay, what are the restrictions? What are the necessities? Masks are just going to be part of the back to school shopping list for the foreseeable future. And that's okay with me. I mean, I don't have an issue with trying to protect other people that can't otherwise be protected. And we try and be safe, like my middle child, Alex, he got a notification that one of the gaming things he had gone to in person, somebody came back COVID positive. So we went and we all got tested. Like, we have no idea if he even crossed paths with it, but even though we're all vaccinated, we want to be safe. My youngest just got his first one, so he can't, he's not fully protected yet. So we have to look out for him too. Mental health wise though, I mean, like, kids are a lot more resilient than we give them credit for. And I give a lot of credit to my kids for being able to tough it out through this and find ways to stay the course. But we are going to have a major mental health crisis, especially with our adolescent population. Just because there's always a lag time in between the disasters and when people seek services. So one of the things that came out of COVID is I started doing updates for the New Jersey State Police. You find unlikely partners when everything's online. And it's been great because I know what's going on data statistically. They all now know what's going on for like real in real time from people doing the frontline work. And, I've been telling them from the beginning that, we expect a spike in services 6 months after a disaster. That's historically what it always is. Like after Katrina, that was when people were looking. After 9/11, that's when people were looking. But we're not even at the end yet, and we're seeing the effects. So, and I think especially with our adolescents, our younger children, at least in New Jersey, we don't really have enough services for them to begin with. So I'm assuming it's like that in most states. It's harder to get licensed for it. So I'm a worrier. I'm a mom. Like, of course I worry about my kids, but I worry about everybody else's kids too, because I know that people have already been saying, where do I get the help for my kids? And with all the questions around like the school year and, it's nerve-wracking for us. So I have to keep in mind, it's got to be really nerve-wracking for my children.
Heather, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
You said we're not at the end of it, which is very true. Are y'all starting to see any kind of shutdowns there or anything like that?
We're not seeing any shutdowns. We are seeing independent businesses deciding on their own whether they want to do, whether they want to require people to be vaccinated to come in.
Right.
There's a handful that are doing that. Some people are requesting that people wear masks again. There hasn't been any mandates, and there hasn't been any closures. However, yesterday our governor did say that state employees and all educational people, so teachers, people that work anywhere in the schools, they now either have mandated vaccines or they do still have, some of them have a testing option, I believe.
Right.
But for the most part, he mandated it. So there's some very unhappy campers today.
Yeah.
But
thank you very much.
Well, and with that, so let's if you don't mind, pivot for a second and going from where we were to talking about the 2021 gubernatorial election in New Jersey, and the state house. So is it? I don't know what. I think it's a bicameral. Is it General Assembly? Is that what it's called there?
Yeah. So we've got General Assembly. We've got Senate.
Yeah, okay. And is everybody up for re-election this year, or is it just everybody?
Everybody.
Okay. So
we do off-year elections, just like you guys do. So.
Yeah. Our senators go every 4 years, so they're not this year. They'll be next year. Our state senators, but our delegates go every 2 years. So, and then of course the governor. But
it might be the same with our senators. Our assembly people are definitely up for re-election this year. I would have to double check it because I haven't been trying to get in touch with our elected representatives during all of this has been next to impossible. I have a policy guy at work who normally wanders the halls of the state house, and that's how he gets our reps. But with everything virtual, you can't do that, and they're not letting anybody into the state house when they're even in there. So it's that worries me. Yeah,
no, I feel you on that. We had a special session. Our General Assembly only meets at the beginning of each year, either for 60 days or 45 days, depending on the session of the year. Mm-hmm. And then there'll be a special session generally. Well, not generally. Like the last several years, there has been a special session called. This year, there's a second special session called already, which just went through. It was the ARP funding, the federal money that came down from Congress, and how we're going to incorporate that into the budget. So that was a lot of money for behavioral health in that money for us. And then there was $10 million that went to the Virginia Association of Recovery Residences, which was a huge, giant jump from the $250,000 the year before. So this is a fantastic, example of recognizing there's a problem, getting into the solution, and putting that solution into action. Now, hopefully the momentum will continue because, obviously it's not a one and done deal. Like you said, we're going to be looking at how mental health and substance use disorder are affected by COVID and all this isolation years down the road from now.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a long-term solution. There is no Band-Aid in the world that is going to fix any of this. And I love to hear that Virginia is looking, is acknowledging that and bankrolling where they need the bankroll, instead of.
Yeah, there's always more to do, right? There's always more to do. And, we've been really vocal with the elections here. And even though, we don't get to see many of our elected officials in person because of restrictions and whatnot, I still have. I mean, we had, so we had our Commonwealth's attorney, basically our district attorney. Our Commonwealth's attorney was in here a couple weeks ago. I saw our delegate. I've seen our delegate several times, but he lives right down the street. He jogs by here every once in a while, so we stop him. But we try to keep connected. We keep connected as well we can, and we advocate. With Virginia RAP, we put together our state platform, which included access to recovery, supporting changes to our peer recovery specialist training manual to be more culturally competent and better servicing LGBTQI, BIPOC, and other marginalized communities. So, like all of these things we put together our platform, and we have all been pumping that out every chance we get. I sent that to every single person running for office in Virginia a couple of weeks ago, and that's like 750 different email addresses or something. Pump it out, pump it out, pump it out, pump it out. And we got a couple of responses, a couple of them that said, take us off your list. But for the most part, I know I was kind of laughing at that one. I'm like, well, why did you put yourself down to run for office? No,
No, I won't.
Especially when it comes to these, I'm going to go off on a tirade. Especially when it comes to people who are running in these regions that are completely unserviced, but have really, really high rates of especially amphetamines in the Southwest. These people running for office who don't even want to acknowledge that there's a problem, but that's another story.
Right.
That's another story. We stay connected and we try to affect, what's going to be the outcome here. In Virginia, the governor can't run for re-election. So you can't have a governor serve 2 consecutive terms. Right. However, the Democrat who's running was the governor previously, so he can run non-consecutive terms. Non-consecutive terms, and it's neck and neck right now. So we've got the Republican and we have a General Assembly that is probably going to stay Democrat. The state Senate's not up for re-election for another 2 years. So right now, we don't know what's going to change in a couple of months. We work with who's there. Our state senator represents where we work is a Republican, and she's phenomenal. I mean, she's not for recovery issues. She's phenomenal.
Yes.
And so we talk to her and we work with her when we can, and she votes on things. And in fact, we supported a bill 2 years ago. Actually, no, just this year. I forgot. Carrie Pointer's bill. She's Republican in Chesterfield. But it was a great bill. This was so stupid. Last year, right before the pandemic hit, Virginia voted for its first recovery high school, right? And it passed overwhelmingly in both chambers, signed by the governor. It was very, very overwhelmingly bipartisan bill, right? Well, between getting voted in and the budget going into effect, COVID started, right? And so the governor cut every single extra thing out of it, and he did arguably the responsible thing, by cutting funding because we didn't know what was going to happen. But now with the ARP money that just came in, they didn't restore funding for this bill, and we fought. We got our names out there, but it was one of those things that wasn't even on my radar because we just assumed it would happen. So that's where we gotta be keeping our eyes open, right? That's where we gotta keep our eyes open, make sure we can get the wins when we can, So
I think a lot of people expect these things to just happen. I don't think it's just you. I think it's everybody in general. It's like, okay, well, it was signed on the dotted line. Like we fought for decades to get a parity law passed in New Jersey, and then we were fighting to reinforce the federal parity law, and we finally got it signed, and everybody was so excited. And don't get me wrong, it was a huge victory. It was a huge victory of transparency for these insurance companies, which is really hard to do. So we were super excited, but it was supposed to come out, the first report was supposed to come out in 2020. And so obviously it wasn't coming out, and nobody could, the focus was not there. It obviously had to be elsewhere. But that's the thing, now we have another law that's not being enforced. So we can't expect somebody else to do it. We have to do it. If we see that this policy is not being enforced, we have to say, hey, elected representatives, this thing you signed, it's not working. We need to, we need to hold these people accountable. That's one of the things about advocacy that I find frustrating, is that there's too much of a tendency to expect other people to be taking care of it. This is something that I don't care if people know that 20 other people or 500 other people are taking care of it. We need you to take care of it too, because it's a numbers thing. The more people saying the same thing, the better the chances are of actually getting things enforced or changed, whichever the case may be.
Yeah, absolutely. We're and I imagine you all will be as well soon receiving funding from the opioid, settlements. And here in Virginia, we created the Opioid Abatement Authority here, and it's a big giant. We had the Attorney General here on the show, talking with John, and they put together this board, and it's all the usual suspects. The Secretary of Health and Human Development, this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, and it's like one representative from the recovery community.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I think back of the tobacco money, or I think back of you look at opioid money that went into West Virginia a couple of years ago that went to pay for, sensors in jails. And it's like, well, wait a second, we need to get this money, to where it needs to go. The people who were affected by these things. So, that's where we're looking at right now as far as accountability here in Virginia. On the Virginia platform, we've got the Opioid Abatement Authority, as well as the I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but Virginia became the first state in the South to legalize adult use cannabis. And so, yeah, right? Which we supported, which we supported. And in that, many reasons for supporting that, but the one thing that we were able to get in there was 25% of tax revenues to go to, well, originally it was supposed to go to recovery support services. It turned into prevention and treatment, going to DBA, our Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, which fine, the money's there, it's acknowledged. Now we have to hold them accountable and make sure it gets to treatment and prevention, because reality is, we have people come in here and they're like, oh, we spent $100,000 on a billboard. I'm like, I don't need a freaking billboard. I need that, I need proper reentry services for people getting out of jail so that they're not overdosing and dying, so they got somewhere to go. We need effective recovery support in the jails. We need mental health in the jails. We need travel people. It's like, so that's why you're right. The accountability piece right there.
It drives me nuts too. I mean, the states sound incredibly similar when it comes to stuff like that. We were really excited because we have, everybody knows who their, friendly people in their legislature is, like people that are good with our issues. And we had a great bill that was introduced. We worked with the guy that introduced it. We got him to add this certain committee that was all grassroots to the bill. We were like super excited about it, and then somebody else came along and added and put in a bill that would do the same thing but in a completely different format. And of course that's the one that's going forward, because it is that type of committee that they like to see. It's so and so from health and so from human services, and then it's the two token, I am going to say it, the token recovery people on it are somebody from the Senate, appointed by the Senate, and somebody appointed by the Assembly. And it's like, do they even know anybody that's knowledgeable about this, that they actually know of? You know what I mean? Like, and it's just going to be another one of those like red tape bureaucratic layers of stuff that we're going to have to fight through. So we're hitting the same thing. Like, we've been trying to work with our SSA, who are notoriously difficult to work with. But we're trying, and that's the thing. Like, there are always going to be these things. There's always going to be this bureaucracy, red tape, people not getting it. We have to make them get it. And, we're still in the middle of fighting for seats at the table. At this point, I'm ready to build a different table. Like,
and build a new one.
I don't even like that table anymore.
I want something real high with some. I want it to go tall.
We'll make sure we get you a bar stool for it.
I'm sitting on a phone book now. Anybody know what that is? No. The cameras move up and down. They gave me. Although I do look particularly short today.
Are you still wearing your pager too?
Justin's our age, by the way. He's about 28
Excellent.
as well. So
I say that because I had a pager, and the first time I got my pager, I was like, I am the coolest person ever.
And then your friends figured out how to write stuff upside down on it.
Oh yeah. Well, that started with the calculators first.
Yeah, but
And
then the 911 things that were never 911.
oh yeah, never. But that was the only way people would ever call me back.
Until they figured out that you're full of it, right? I still get text messages that say boobies. No, I don't get those text messages, but now I want them. I get actual pictures of boobies. Anyway, back.
Wow, this podcast is taking a totally different direction now.
Well, I feel like I have to laugh. We have to laugh, you know.
We do.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's a circus of the absurd anyway. So, look, every time I get discouraged, I have to remind myself how different things are from when I did start advocating. So like back when the very first training that I ever took was the same that most of us took, which is Our Stories Have Power from Faces and Voices of Recovery. Aaron did the training in this position that I now work in. And back then, when we did the introduction and the relationship to recovery in the beginning, everybody introduced themselves as an alcoholic or an addict. Everyone. That was the training that taught everybody how to introduce yourself with your recovery first and how important it was to start talking about recovery. I still do that training. It's very adapted now for, obviously 10 years later, it needs to be adapted. But I still do that training, but I never hear that anymore. So it means it worked.
Yeah.
Like the training worked. Everybody introduces themselves that way. And that was mind-blowing 10 years ago.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. And I've heard videos, I've seen videos from right around that time, and I can see how that is changing. And so one thing that I've actually started incorporating when I introduce myself is putting my pronouns in, which, is we got a little feedback there. But with adding my pronouns in and recognizing that, that provides a safe spot for individuals who have a maybe LGBTQIA plus, providing that safe space. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. I'm easily distracted by squirrels, around here. But so that's how that adapts and changes, right? As we learn more, grow more, become more inclusive, recognizing that marginalized communities are often are disproportionately affected by access, without access to recovery support services, and perhaps even disproportionately affected by substance use disorder, and certainly by suicide rates, mental health. Making sure that we are creating these safe spaces for safe, inclusive spaces that allow everyone to come in and to get what the services they need. So funny you mentioned Aaron. He just emailed me as we were talking here. So I love that the continuity of the movement for me. So.
Yeah, it's funny because like the larger we are, the smaller we get. It's like this Schrodinger's cat kind of thing. Like it's like everybody knows everybody, and like it's not 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon anymore. It's like 6 degrees of pick a recovery advocate. Like if I don't know you, I guarantee you I know somebody else that you know. And I love that. I love that because what we promise, no matter what pathway of recovery you are on, is you're going to find a new family, and we are a family. We fight like family. We get together and we do that thing where everybody talks out over everybody else. At least my family does that.
I'm from Jersey too.
Yeah. Look, baby, my family's from Delco, which is like super South Jersey. And it's not even in Jersey. But yeah, so we're one of those, like loud Irish families. We're just like all yelling over each other, and but we do that, and I love the fact that no matter what, when push comes to shove, we can get our act together, and we do actually say, all right, what do we need to do? And I think that having the opportunity to all get together for Mobilize, whether we're in person or you're doing it virtually, I think it's what we desperately need right now. Like, we need to see everybody working together again and getting fired up and getting passionate about this, because it's been we can't even say a year. It's been way longer than that now. Like, it's been tough on the whole entire world. It's been doubly tough on our little community, because in addition to all of the COVID issues, we're dealing with all of the fallout and the losses in our own community, which we know are skyrocketing. We need to know about everybody else. Like, we're all still out here. We're all still trying to help. We're all still trying to make a change. I know that fills my cup. Like, it gives me the heart to keep going on the days where things are, they just seem like we're never going to get out of the hole. That's the kind of thing that reminds me, this is why I do this. Like, this is why we do it, because, all of these people fought so long and so hard for us to have the ability to take for granted the fact that we're sitting here on a podcast, like talking about our recovery. This would not have flown for a lot of our predecessors. And I like knowing that, even if we disagree, we agree on the big things. And I think that this will be a really good way to fire everybody up again. I know that's part of the reason why I'm looking forward to it. Get together with the family and yell over each other.
Heather, I wish we had another hour here, but I feel like I didn't give you enough time to talk about what got you into this, and so we'll have to have you back.
I would love to come back.
That's it. We'll have to have you back. But any final thoughts? Any final words you want to add? The hope shot there. That was a pretty big hope shot at the end. I appreciate that.
I'll leave it at that, because I think that says it all. I believe there are still some slots for the online Mobilize Recovery. So if anybody's watching this and they're not able to go this year, sign up for the virtual version, because you'll still get all of the benefits of meeting people and connecting and getting fired up. And when life is really tough and you don't know what else to do, you should get a kitten. So,
oh, so cute. That little outfit is so cute. Yeah.
So when in doubt, collect cats.
New relationship status. Collecting cats.
Yes, already bought 39 cats. That's
my goodness.
Status.
Oh, Heather, I love you. I am so glad you came and chatted with us today. Appreciate you. Can't wait to see you in person. Can't wait to have you back, because I want to talk more about your story, what got you here into recovery and stuff like that. But I think this is a pretty awesome show. Thank you for everybody who watched. Justin, for all that you do, thank you so much. Listen, we got a great week ahead. Tomorrow, today, what is it, 24th? Tomorrow, the 25th, John Shinholz is going to take the lead here. He's going to sit in the space, and he's going to have some of our participants, here at McShin, and talk about our McShin programs inside and outside of our jails. We're also going to have on Thursday, Justin, what do we got Thursday? You got the sheet over there?
I do not know.
Oh no, I don't have the sheet in front of me. I could do that too, but well, listen, we'll talk about that tomorrow. I know that we got a great rest of the week ahead.
Thursday.
Oh,
sorry.
No, that's good.
We have Dr. Diane Kaufman.
That's why I can't remember, because Diane Kaufman, she is a child psychologist, psychiatrist. She's a doctor in Oregon, and she deals primarily with trauma and getting past trauma and using trauma to and creating resilience through creativity. So she's a poet, she's an author, a writer, a music writer, and all these things, as well as bringing other young people and adults into that creative process to have creative resilience, life-affirming creative resilience. That's what she says, born out of trauma. So I'm really eager to see her and have her here. That's probably why I can't remember why she's here, because I'm trying not to think about my own trauma and stuff. But I'll just keep that in my mind. She'll be joining us from Oregon on Thursday at 2:00. We'll see you all soon. Thank you very much, and see you. I will see you Thursday. Take care, guys. Thank you, Heather.
Here at McShin, we believe in the McShin way, which is authentic recovery support service providers, people with lived experience, bringing that experience to those who need that lived experience in recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in many things to support our mission. We believe in women empowerment.
What I love most about what we believe here at McShin is we believe in the authenticity of the peer-to-peer approach.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in giving people opportunity.
Here at McShin, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
At the McShin Foundation, we believe in helping people reach their full potential.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in multiple pathways to recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in placing principles before personalities to help spread hope.
Here at McShin, we believe that recovery is possible and that any person seeking recovery can become a more acceptable, responsible, and productive member of society.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in self-discovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in saving lives and offering second chances.
Here at McShin, we believe you can do this.
Here at McShin Foundation, we believe that we can only keep what we have by giving away, which is why we continue to help others like us seek and find recovery.